Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building, Stephen A. Smith. Welcome, brother.
What's going on, man? Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Ange, how you doing? Charlamagne, what's up?
What's up, my brother?
It's good to see y'all.
Man, you got a new show coming on ESPN, another one?
Listen, it's going to be called Stephen A's World. And, it's just a half-hour show on streaming. ESPN Plus is obviously a big priority for them. If you remember, the whole Netflix thing and that rage, direct to streaming is the way to go. Some of the things that you're doing with your podcast and with this show and other things. So you know what I'm talking about here. First year, Disney Plus had 86.5 million subscribers. Disney ESPN Plus had 11.5. So obviously they want to buffer those numbers, and they came to me and asked me to do this. And I've known about this since last year, which is why I gave up my radio show, because this was forthcoming. What makes me excited about this is a couple of things. Number one, I'm looking to bring a bit more lightheartedness and levity to certain situations and just, show the lighter side of me to some degree and really celebrate what other people are doing, to have somewhat of a late night feel. You come on a late night show, you laugh and you're having a good time. You might be talking about sports, of course, because it's still ESPN, but I really want to celebrate what other folks are doing, what they're trying to do, what their contributions to the society and their particular profession may be. But the other thing that I'm excited about is that I'm not only the host of this, I'm the executive producer, and I started my own production company a few months ago, Mr. SAS Productions, and it will be co-producing this in concert with ESPN. So essentially, not only am I the host, but I'm the boss, and just trying to set that example and do what I can to shine. So I put other people in position to shine as well.
Do you have a? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, congratulations. That's really, really dope. And I was reading what it was about, and I saw you'll also be addressing relationship topics on here.
Well, listen, first of all, it's a couple of things. Number one, I'm a huge Martin Lawrence fan, so there's nothing innovative here. I stole it from him. If you remember, of all the Martin episodes that I loved the one with the Love Doctor when he found out about Tommy and Pam dating one another because he was busy giving relationship advice. So I stole it from him because he's my favorite all-time comedian. So I was having fun one day just doing it on my radio show. And believe it or not, everybody was calling and everybody kept calling and literally started asking me about relationship advice. I'm like, I'm not married. I mean, I'm not a good person to ask for advice from in that regard. Now I can give great advice because I was raised by 5 women, my wonderful mother, God rest her soul, and my 4 older sisters. But I'm like Bernie Mac said, I'm not talking about myself. So I look at it that way, but I have a lot of fun with it. And then you had a lot of people. They got relationships. They battling with their significant other because of sports. Sports is getting in the way and stuff like that. And guys are calling up, yo, man, how can I make my baby happy while at the same time make sure she don't interrupt me on Sunday afternoons and stuff like that? And I started giving that advice. The next thing I know, ESPN comes to me a couple of years ago. This is such a hit. We want to sponsor the segment. You got sponsors wanting to sponsor the segment. Everybody loves it. So I said, the hell with it. I'll bring it to my new show and have a ball with it and that, be a bit self-deprecating, have folks laughing at me and going off about something that I say or whatever. But it's all in fun. And it definitely, all props is to Martin Lawrence because I completely stole it from him.
When we first started the interview, you didn't sound like the normal Stephen A. Smith from Queens. You sounded a little somber. And I know it's because what we've seen that happened on Capitol Hill. So what were your thoughts of seeing that?
Well, first of all, as a black man, let's just call it what it is. If those were black people marching up on Capitol Hill, they'd have got shot. Let's just call it what it is. The number would have been larger than 4 who passed away. One woman was shot in the chest, God rest her soul, and we're really sorry and our condolences to her and her family. But there were 3 other people that, suffered fatally from medical emergencies or what have you. The number would have been significantly more. Let's just look at Black Lives Matter marching, whether it's on Capitol Hill, whether it's in Atlanta or someplace else. And we understand that they had armed police officers. I remember the president at the time when people were threatening to breach the gate to the White House. He literally came out publicly and said, it would have been very, very bad for those protesters because we've got the most vicious attack dogs waiting for them. And I remember going on First Take the next morning and going the hell off because what I recall saying is that, you talk about something that connotates such a bad time in our history in terms of how Black folks are treated. When you mention dogs being sicked on Black people, I mean, I don't know. I mean, guess you could come up with stuff that has more poignant racial overtones, but clearly that was it. And so I thought about that instantly, and I appreciated those NBA players coming out and saying what they said last night, because we all know the truth. If it were Black folks marching on Capitol Hill, had it breached the state capitol, that had gotten into the rotunda, that somehow, man, first of all, I don't think they'd have got that far. I think people would have been shot before that. But clearly, if they had gotten into the building, there would have been significantly more people that were wounded, if not fatally. And so that definitely jumped to my mind. But also, what jumped to my mind, I turned and watched Trump's entire speech yesterday, the whole hour. And if he didn't dog whisper, it was even stronger than that. He told them to go to the state capitol. He told them to stop this. He told them to essentially engage in insurrection. There is no way to slice that. And so for me, to have a sitting president of the United States be so flagrantly divisive and willing to harm congressional and Senate figures, some of whom spent 4 years supporting practically everything that he did. I don't know how much more egregious it gets. As far as I'm concerned, he can't leave office early enough. It's a damn shame that it came to this. And I think it's a blight on our country for years to come, man. It's just really, really bad. But if we're honest about it, it's unfortunate, it's sad, but we ain't surprised because we know who he is. We know who he has been. And right out the door, he revealed it for the world to see.
How hard is it to go on air today and not talk about what happened yesterday at the Capitol? Or do y'all plan to talk about it?
I wouldn't know, Charlamagne, because ain't no way in hell I'm going on the air and not talking about it.
Okay.
Talk about it today, bro. I'm going to talk about it today, bro. The only thing that I'm mad about is that they wanted us to talk about it and really wanted to stick to the contributors. Because, bro, I'd have gave you a call. I'd have gave both of y'all a call, and you too, and you can come on too. The Breakfast Club is the joint. We all know that. I'm always interested in hearing what y'all have to say. I'd have called the Michael Eric Dysons of the world and various others, and I'd have been like, yeah, come on and talk about this. And I still might do that. Hell, I had Anthony Scaramucci, the former communications director for Trump, who's been blasting Trump over the last year. So I had him ready to come on. I mean, to me, you know, the role that I serve on First Take is like, it's instigating dialogue. I hate when, you know, when it's sports, that's different. But when it comes to issues that are social issues, political issues, and what have you, I hate when people treat me like I think I know. No, my expertise is being provocative enough to create the kind of dialogue so people will want to listen to you guys and others even more. And then facilitate giving you an additional platform on top of the great platform that you have so more people can hear your voices. That's what I do. People forget that I have a journalistic background. I've been a journalist for over 25 years. And when you are a journalist, it's your role to go through the minutia and to do everything you can to get as close to the truth as you possibly can and to provoke that conversation. And you don't do it by doing it yourself. You do it by getting to the people that have substantive things to say and add to the conversation. So ultimately you can get to as close to a solution as possible. That's your job as a journalist, and that stuff never leaves me. So I'm always looking to be a facilitator for others to come on board and provide the best platform I can so people other than me can be heard. That's what I try to do.
Is there ever a pushback at ESPN when it comes to sports and politics? Because I know it has been in the past.
Well, let me tell you this. This is the part, and people in the past, I'm not going to mention any names, but here's where they mess up. You know, obviously me being in the position that I'm in, it's not like I'm just speaking to the supervisor. I mean, the president's on speed dial. The president and I talk every week. You know, the executive VPs of ESPN and I talk every week. I kind of know them. And they have never said, don't talk politics definitively. What they said is, leave the political expertise to the political experts. Don't go on the air talking about policy when you don't know, because that's not what you are locked in on. And more importantly, give the audience what they expect to see. If we're ESPN, we're a sports network. Don't avoid sports to talk about these other things. Find a way to interweave sports within the political and social conversation. And if you do that, we have no issue with it. And because people had a problem with the mandate to not just go directly into politics, you've had some people that have expressed dismay over that. But I've never had a problem with it, because anytime something developed and I felt the need to talk about it, I simply let them know. The other thing that the mandate was is that you work for us. We pay you. Why the hell are you expressing yourself on Twitter for free when we giving you this platform and we paying you to use it? Use it here. If you're going to generate interest, don't generate it for Twitter. Generate it for us here, because we're the one paying you. I don't see a problem with that. I really, really don't.
Now, I want to get
hold on. You're talking about Jemele Hill. I mean, come on.
No. Not just her.
I can't think of too many people at ESPN who even had, that type of energy other than Jemele in the past.
There was a bunch of them, believe it or not. And believe it or not, I'll shock you with this, Charlamagne. There's a whole bunch of white folks at ESPN that have very, very passionate feelings, and obviously some on the other side, not necessarily on our side. And they want to express it even more because they see us expressing it. What I'm saying is that when I get, and I'll address this directly, because I love Jemele. She's a friend. Kerry Champion, I know, she's a friend. Michael Smith, all of these, they did great work. I miss them. I wish they were still at the network. I don't apologize about that. But what I'm saying to you is that I would say the same thing to you now that I've gotten to know you. If I saw you doing something that I said, yo, man, this could ultimately squash you and get in the way of the bigger picture. You too important. You too important of a voice. DJ Envy, you too important of a voice. Angela, you too important of a voice. If I saw y'all doing something that I thought would compromise y'all ability to be on the airwaves every day doing what you do, I would sit up there and say to you, do you really want to mess that up because of a tweet? Mm-hmm. Why not use it? Why not use your airwaves? Think about the marathon, not the sprint. And I would give that advice to anybody that I know that was willing to listen to me, that I cared about. And if I have one regret about Jemele, I think Jemele has been celebrated for a lot of the things that she has done and has elected to do. And my response is, Jemele Hill spent decades doing great work, phenomenal work. Mm-hmm. And to me, when people talk about her comments against the president or her comments on social justice issues, of course they're poignant, of course they mattered, of course they were relevant. But at the same time, I miss her at the Worldwide Leader. She's at Vice TV. I wish her nothing but the best. But she was at the Worldwide Leader. And guess what? I miss her there, because that's a voice I think we needed. But unfortunately, you make certain decisions, and as a result, things don't work out. And a lot of times we see that throughout our career. Roland Martin's a brother of mine. Love Roland Martin. And there are certain things that he said, not necessarily wrong, but you do ask yourself, okay, what is this? And I would know, because I lost my job. I was gone for 2 years. I didn't get my contract renewed, Charlamagne, because I was in there raising holy hell and not recognizing, wait a minute, there's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Every battle ain't a war. And we got to be mindful of all of that. And I would hope that people who care about me say, yo, Stephen A, man, I appreciate you doing that, but come here, bro. You on TV for 2 hours every day. We need you to make sure that you're smart enough where you're doing what you're doing and you're being as real and authentic as you possibly can be, but let's make sure we keep you around too.
What would you say to people that say, they would consider that a sellout, somebody that can't speak their mind or say what they feel and are curbing themselves for the quote unquote white person or curbing themselves for the quote unquote business and not doing it what they feel?
I would tell them to do their damn homework, because that's like me saying to you, I remember one time I used this example. Somebody got on me because they wanted me to call out my boss, one of the writers for the New York Daily News. Mm-hmm. But he never called out Mike Lupica, who's a columnist at the Daily News. He never called out his bosses, but you want me to call out mine. See what I'm saying? You have to make decisions every day. Again, you don't fake what you feel. You don't deny expressing what you feel, but timing matters. Presentation matters, delivery matters when you're thinking about the marathon. If I'm swinging the hammer and I'm bringing the hammer 300 days out of the year and 65 days out of the year, I might come up a tad bit short. You can look at the 65 days that I might have came up a tad bit short. I'm going to look at the 300 because 300 is better than 0. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I would encourage y'all to do. Anybody to do. It's not about never fake what you feel, never avert saying what's true and what's real. But a lot of times it's people expressing their feelings because very rarely do people argue with definitive facts. Where they get at you is with your perspective that you bring to the equation because it's subjective and it can be interpreted any old way. And what people are challenging you with sometimes, particularly in the world of business, was this perspective that you felt the need to express in such vehement and demonstrative fashion worth the cost in this particular situation. People, you guys know your history, people from the civil rights era, before that, thereafter, made those kind of decisions every day with every move they made. It's called strategy. Mm-hmm. And those who are successful exercise strategy. And those who are not, don't find success.
I agree with you for the most part. I do think in light of everything that we saw, especially yesterday, Jamel was right.
She was right, yeah.
She was right for a lot of the things she was saying about.
Well, I didn't say she was wrong. I never said she was wrong. What I said is that she's important. She's important to me as a person. She's important to this industry. I think that for decades, she was doing phenomenal work, which was why her stature at ESPN elevated. All I'm saying is that, because again, I work for the company and there's a lot I know that I can't and won't say because that's her personal business. I would never do that to her. And I would never do that to folks that I work at the company with now. But what I will tell you is that, again, she's an incredibly, incredibly important voice. She had an incredible platform. And all I'm saying to you is she earned that. So no matter what she's doing now, I appreciate what she's doing. I love her forever. No question about it. I just think at times when I think about her, when I think about my brother Michael, when I think about a host of people that y'all never even bring up that came before her at ESPN, that departed, a lot of times in the world of business, you got to take into consideration, the lanes that you're in and the lanes you choose to go in on a particular day-to-day basis. And when you're on the air over 250 days out of the year, don't think for 1 second you can't do that. You have to do that.
That's real.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, DJ.
Let's switch gears a little bit
Sure.
now. The other day, I'm watching basketball like I always do, and I'm seeing people not appreciate Steph Curry? Or do people forget what Steph Curry has done for the league and how he's changed the league?
They forget. They don't realize that I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. He's the greatest shooter man has ever seen.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. There has never, ever, I've been watching basketball damn near since I came out of the womb. I have never seen a shooter this great. And I'm talking about, I was watching basketball in the days of JoJo White to downtown Freddie Brown with Dennis Johnson and Gus Williams with the Seattle Supersonics to Elvin Hayes. And then you got Ricky Pierce and Dale Ellis and Dale Curry and Reggie Miller and Allen Houston, Ray Allen, Larry Bird. The list goes, Michael Wade, Vinnie Johnson out of Detroit. The list goes on and on. Even Mark Price for the Cleveland Cavaliers because Jordan just stood in their way, but that brother could shoot from that point guard spot. I have never seen a shooter like Steph Curry in my life. He can shoot from anywhere. He can shoot standing still. He can shoot the set shot. He can shoot the jump shot. He can shoot from the corner, the wing, the key. He can shoot from 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 feet. This dude is on another level. And I've never seen a sniper like him in my life. The other day, he was in practice. I don't know if y'all saw this. He hit 105 straight three-pointers.
That's crazy.
105 straight three-pointers. It's all on camera. It's all on camera. Ain't made up now. 105. And his backcourt mate who's hurt and out for the year, Klay Thompson. Do y'all understand that he's one of the top 5 shooters in the history of basketball? This is Klay Thompson. And so when you look at Steph Curry, and I explained this to Allen Iverson just about 2 weeks ago, because they would talk about Dame Dollar, Damian Lillard, who I love. Damian Lillard averaged 30 last year and shot 40% from three-point range. It was the first time in his career he did that. Do you understand that Steph Curry shot better than 40% from three-point range for the first 10 years of his career?
That's crazy.
The first 10 years. I mean, it's just, and I'm like, and I say, AI, the brother moves, it's bad enough he can shoot from anywhere, but he moves without the ball better than most. And he has a better handle than anybody that can shoot nearly as well as he could shoot in their career. He is the greatest shooter mankind has ever seen. Ever.
I want to expound on Envy's question because we was debating this over the holidays. You know, we had the Magic Bird era. The Pistons, you know, the Pistons kind of disrupted that, winning 2 championships. Then it was absolutely the Michael Jordan era. Then it was the Kobe Shaq era, the Spurs era. When we look back over the last, say, decade of basketball, who would you say this era belonged to? Now, I know you're going to say LeBron, but is it fair to say this is the LeBron Curry era, the way it was the Bird Magic era? I
think it's fair. And the only reason I think it's fair only from the standpoint that Curry's got 3 rings, 5 straight trips to the finals, and 3 of those times he beat LeBron.
That's right.
So you could say it for that reason. Here's my caveat, only for that reason.
Back-to-back MVPs don't count? Only unanimous MVP in NBA history?
You know, because LeBron was right there. Here's where LeBron gets it. You go to 9 straight NBA finals. You've been to 10 finals in the last 11 years. And it's 3 different teams. And it's with the eye of the storm placed on your shoulders. See, we don't talk about it enough, but y'all can appreciate this. LeBron growing up in Akron, being relatively poor and fatherless, having the trials and tribulations, the struggles, and building himself into what he is an entirely different story than you being Steph Curry, light-skinned, good-looking brother, smaller, so people identify with you more. Because you look at LeBron, everybody can't be 6'9", 260, but you can be 6'3", 180. You see what I'm saying? And you grow up in a well-to-do and an affluent lifestyle because your father was an NBA player, beautiful family, North Carolina, comfort zone, all of that stuff. Some of the trials and tribulations, some of the adversity that other dudes face, you didn't have to endure. So there's a level of comfort that you capitalized off of that may have assisted in your ascension. LeBron came from the gutter and rose to unparalleled heights. And that's the difference. And that's why we can't ignore that this is the LeBron era.
Now let me ask, I know you're a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Knicks look pretty good. Knicks are doing all right now.
So far.
Let's look at New York. What do you think about the Knicks and what do you think about Yee's Brooklyn Nets?
Well, first of all,
I already heard what he thought.
The Knicks are playing with house money. We don't expect anything from them. They not a damn thing because they've been sorry for too long. But Worldwide West, William Wesley, that's my man. We go back years. Leon Rhodes knows a thing or two about basketball, being an agent for these last several decades. Scott Perry being an African-American, serving as their GM. Thank God they didn't let him go when they let Steve Mills go as president of the team. And then Tom Thibodeau is an exceptional coach. Now, his problem is that he was so hard-nosed, he never knew how to take his foot off the gas in terms of riding those players. But there's a reason the Boston Celtics and Doc Rivers won the title in 2008. Tom Thibodeau was their defensive coordinator. And he served there for years before he went to Chicago and took them to the conference finals when they had Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah at the time and stuff like that. Tom Thibodeau can really, really coach. He lives, eats, and breathes basketball, not married, or at least he wasn't a few months ago. And that's all he cares about is basketball. And he's going to have you playing hard, and he's going to have you defending. And the fact that the New York Knicks are devoid of a bona fide star means they got to use their bench. So you got a constant rotation of like 9, 10, 11 players sometimes being used, which means they got fresh legs and they can defend and really go after you. That's what we're seeing right now. We'll see how long that lasts. But as far as I'm concerned, if they finish 500 at 36-36 with a 72-game season, I'd love that. The Brooklyn Nets, Angela, are a different matter. Anything less than a trip to the NBA Finals is unacceptable.
I agree.
KD, Kevin Durant, is one of the top 2 players on the planet. I don't give a damn what anybody says. This brother is that lethal. He can average 25 in his sleep. He can do whatever he wants to do. And Kyrie Irving is an absolute showstopper. He's box office, got the nastiest handle in basketball, can finish the basket, can shoot. The brother is special. Those 2 in the Eastern Conference should be enough. But they also have Karis LeVert, who can ball. And the Joe Harrises and the Jared Allens of the world, these guys can contribute to something. I love the pickup of Jeff Greene. I didn't like Steve Nash as the coach. I like Steve Nash as a person, but I had a problem, and I called it white privilege when he got the job. I said it then, I'll say it again. There's no disrespect to Steve Nash, who's a really great guy, has a black agent by the name of Bill Duffy for years, who I've known. He and I go back over a quarter century. That's my man. But I don't know of a black man that has never coached on any level that would get that job. I didn't say a coaching job. Mark Jackson never coached. Doc Rivers hadn't coached at the time. You know, there's been others. Derek Fisher hadn't coached at the time. We get that. They didn't get that job. The Brooklyn Nets with KD and Kyrie are championship contenders. And to have never coached on any level and to get that job, that's the epitome of white privilege. And I said it then and I say it now. So I wish him luck. But right now, the reason I bring it up is because they're talking about Steve Nash. They're talking about the team's a little bit soft. They're talking about they got some woes to consider because they don't play good defense, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you had a coach with more experience, that might not be an issue. So we're about to find out. But I know talent-wise, the Brooklyn Nets go to the finals or the season is a failure. The New York Knicks can squeeze into the playoffs, and it's a win.
Let me ask you a question, Stephen A. Do you ever stop and say to yourself, I am the face of ESPN? Like when people think ESPN, they think Stephen A. Smith. Like that's a hell of a position for a black man to be in. I
don't think about I shouldn't say that. Let me stop that. I think about it a little bit now because of the check that I get. You know, the fact that I got that new contract. All right. Well, I never wanted to hear that prior to my last contract because my attitude is I ain't getting paid like it. I don't want to hear that nonsense. Y'all can go to that nonsense all y'all want to, but these people ain't paying me what I deserve, what I earn, the money the revenue that I generate, the money that I bring in, et cetera, et cetera. But after this new contract, it's safe to say I can't really say that now. So because of that, I have to change my tune just a touch and recognize the fact that, you know, I'm the face of ESPN. But what I'm most proud of is that they've never asked me to compromise something I would never compromise, and that's my blackness. And for me, you know, I pride myself. I'm not just a black man. I'm a brother. This is who I am. And regardless of what people want to say and how they want to come at me, I tell folks all the time, you can't find a brother that does what we do that can a brother or sister that can ever say, I didn't try to help us along the way. And that I'm at ESPN just doing my thing and ignoring what we need as a community. I make sure to address diversity issues. I make sure that with my show, there's going to be diversity on the show. My boss is black. My executive producer, my number 2 is black. He's Rashawn McDonald, used to work with Steve Harvey.
Yeah, I know Rashawn.
Yeah, that's right. That's my number 2 guy. I brought him on board. He works for me under my production arm, stuff like that.
I made getting all this money and making all these moves. Okay, I get it now.
Well, bro, I'm coming for you too. I'm not playing because I want to be the guy that serves as a conduit, like I said earlier, to make sure that voices other than myself contribute to my voice. I don't want to be the only one that's heard. I want to showcase. I want to hear when Charlamagne calls me, gives me the Donkey of the Day or the Donkey of the Week award. I want to know why. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear stuff like that. Don't bother me. I'm like, okay, iron sharpens iron. We correct one another. That's the kind of stuff that's important to me. It's always been important to me. And now I'm in a better position to make it happen. Obviously, there's people that I answer to. I have bosses, but I'm not just a talent. I'm a boss now. And so I try to make things happen.
How much do you bet on sports a lot? Like, were you betting on this?
I never bet on sports
at all?
No, I never bet on sports ever. ever. I don't put myself in that kind of position to be compromised just because of the position that I have. You know, you never want to give the impression that, you know what, you trying to make money in that kind of way off of the games that you cover, the athletes you talk about or whatever. Because say, for example, I bet on LeBron to win the finals and then he go out and mess up. Say if I bet on J.R. Smith and then he forget that the score is tied or something like that. And I go off, people come at me like, man, you just going on because you lost your money. You lost money. No, I don't do that. I don't give that kind of ammunition to anybody like that. I'm on the up and up with all of that.
Is James Harden a crybaby? People are saying that James Harden is a crybaby. What are your thoughts of James?
I don't view James Harden that way. I got a lot of love for James Harden. I think that here's what we have to appreciate about James Harden. James Harden shows up, bro.
He gets busy.
Now, he came into this season. Let's call it what it is. He looked fat. He looked about 12, 15 pounds overweight. No training camp, no preseason, and dropped 44 game one. You see what I'm saying? Now, that's entirely different than the Wayne Haskins, quarterback for the Washington football team. You know, you got strippers coming in and, you know, you during the middle of the week, you're supposed to be the quarterback of the team. You've been stinking up the joint, and then you stink up the joint that Sunday after it happens. No wonder your ass got cut. I mean, you can't do that. James Harden doesn't do that. James Harden shows up. Not only does he produce, but he always shows up. He's mad when he ain't playing 35, 40 minutes a night. He's never engaged in load management. So we have to take that into consideration. What he was saying is that I'm not in a winning situation. Our window in Houston is closed. Get me up out of here, man. Don't leave me here to carry this when you know we don't have what we needed. The problem is he had a lot to do with that. He wanted Dwight Howard, then he didn't want him. He wanted CP3, then he didn't want him. Matter of fact, he walked into the offices of the Rockets. That night they lost game 7. You know, whatever it was game 7 games. I'm trying to remember. I know they lost the game 7 to Golden State, but I'm trying to remember the next year when they lost in 6 games. Whatever that was, he walked into the locker room. I think it was when they lost in game 6 after Kevin Durant went down. And they lost in game 6. He walked into the offices with the owner, with the GM. He said, I want CP3 out of here. I want him out of here. They got CP3 out of there. They got your boy Westbrook. And then y'all didn't want to play together either. They still boys, they still tight, but they didn't want to play together, right? Because Westbrook didn't want to stand around and play the role of spectator watching, you know, James Harden dribble all day. What I'm saying is they gave you what you wanted. So I do understand when people want to come at him. What I would say is that this is one of the most prolific offensive players we've ever seen who never cheats us. He shows up and he shows out. And I'm going to give you your props and your respect because you do that.
What team do you see him on this year?
I thought he needed to go to Brooklyn or Philly because I didn't think there was anywhere else for him to go where he'd be a title contender, because obviously with the money he's making, you got to give up assets in order to get him, because the CBA rules, the collective bargaining rules, call for your salaries to fall within 85% of one another. So you can't trade a $40 million player for somebody making 5. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that, unless they got significant money under the cap, which most teams do not. And so as a result of that, you look at Philadelphia, him with Embiid and the rest of their crew, yeah. But right now, Doc Rivers got them looking like the best team in basketball. They got the best record in basketball. In Brooklyn, I personally believe the only chance you have to beat LeBron this year in LA with Anthony Davis, the only chance you have is for James Harden to join KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn. Otherwise, Brooklyn will lose to LA in the finals, or, you know, or they won't get there. But
there's enough basketballs to go around if that happens. Kyrie already taking more shots than KD.
I agree. But I'm talking about chances. You're right, Charlamagne. I'm talking about chances, though. I'm saying they will have to modify that because already it's a problem in Brooklyn. You can't have Kyrie shooting more than KD. Now, KD's efficient, so it don't matter. Because even though Kyrie's taking 3 more shots a game than him, he's still averaging 2 points more than Kyrie. So we get that. All I'm saying is the chance of beating LeBron. I can't see Brooklyn or anybody else knocking off Anthony Davis and LeBron James in a finals appearance without James Harden.
Got you. I know you got to get up out of here. My final question, do you have a desire for people to see who you are beyond the sports?
Yeah, to some degree, only from the standpoint that, you know, again, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I don't want to be somebody that's just about sports. You know, when I remember when, and I tell, you know, my white bosses this a lot of times, I've said this to them a lot of times, white folks come to work with a job to do every day. We come with a responsibility. What I mean by that is I remember when Trayvon Martin got shot and killed, I'm walking down the streets and black folks walking up to me, Stephen A., you got to touch on this. Stephen A., you got to say this. Yeah, that wasn't a sports story, but they said it was necessary. And then when the Miami Heat put on their hoodies, they really said, you got to touch on this. Now I was going to anyway, but they were telling me that. White folks don't hear that. You don't see white folks going up to other white folks saying that you got to do it. So understanding that black folks feel that way. Why do they feel that way? It's not because of me. It's because of the position that I'm in. I have a platform that most of us don't have. And so what they're doing is calling upon me to bring light and to bring attention to things, just the same way you might ask an athlete to, if not more so. Now with the athlete, you're asking them to say something and be active in that regard. With me, you're not only asking me to say something, you're asking me to be that conduit for others to speak as well, to make sure that I provide the platform for others that need to be heard. And I take that role very, very seriously. I don't feel compelled to agree with any damn body and say what I don't feel. But I do feel compelled to make sure that even if you disagree with me, if you speak for a vast majority of us, you need to be heard. And so what I try to do is make sure that I do that. And in that regard, that's where I look at myself beyond the world of sports, using sports to extend myself beyond it, to address more deeper issues, enlightening myself, educating myself, either by reading more, watching more, learning more, but more importantly, connecting myself with people I know stuff, so they will educate me as well.
And I had one question too. I wanted to ask about LeBron putting together a team to purchase the Atlanta Dream. What do you think that could do for the WNBA? And how do we uplift the WNBA more so that they can make more money, get more endorsements, more people watch?
Well, I love it because I think that LeBron is pretty brilliant with a lot of the things that he does. And obviously he's conscientious. And I think him owning the WNBA team is more about getting it away from Loeffler, the Senate figure that just lost in Georgia to Warnock. So I think that's what it's about for him more so than anything else. And I applaud his position on that. What I would say is this though, and I'll say this respectfully to all of those females out there. You know, the fellas, we got NBA, we got NFL, we got Major League Baseball, we got the boxing, we got the UFC, we got all of that. These women have been out there busting their tail for years, trying to make the WNBA into something. Last time I checked, when you are successful in terms of ingratiating yourself with the average consumer out there, you usually are successful because you found a way to ingratiate yourself with that female audience. For some reason, females are not supporting the WNBA enough, because if they were, the WNBA would be far more successful than it is. So rather than folks talking about what the WNBA needs, how about the WNBA highlighting in the eyes of women out there, excuse me, we need all the support we can get from y'all, because when females step up and support you, you win. Everyone knows that. And I think that's a big reason why the WNBA is not a big deal, because the fellas are like, yeah, we'll watch you, we'll support you as best we possibly can. But we do have the NBA. You understand that we've been watching for years, that we love to death. You understand, high fly dunkers and all of this other stuff. The females need to do a better job of supporting the WNBA.
I agree.
I'm on it.
Stephen, we appreciate you for checking in. Stephen A. Smith, thank you for checking in, brother.
That new show starts when?
Stephen A's World debuts this Monday, January 11th on ESPN.
Right. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care.
All right, it's the Breakfast Club with Stephen A. Smith.